Hi guys, so I wanted to make a quick video to talk about vaccinating within the foster care system, or primarily vaccinating your own kids to become licensed foster parents. So I'm going to try to keep it short because I know most people don't want to watch a really long video or have the time to do it. So I'm going to try to be concise this time, something I'm really bad at. Anyways, so when we first decided to do foster care, two things. One, we didn't know that you had to vaccinate your children to do foster care. Two, your biological children. Two, it just never crossed my mind at all. Two, we hadn't decided yet whether we were going to continue vaccinating our children or whether we were going to choose not to. So Hudson and Grayson are both vaccinated up until this point, up to date, except for chickenpox. Neither of them have been vaccinated for chickenpox. Weston, he's 7 months and he has not had any of his vaccinations. And so going into already having made the decision to do foster care, we didn't know that this situation was going to be an issue at all. We had decided, we had gotten our packet in the mail and we were pretty much full steam ahead, and then I read online that you have to submit your children's immunization records, that they have to be up to date, and you have to continue keeping them up to date, one. And then two, if you want to foster children under the age of 2, you have to get the flu shot and you have to get the Tdap for everybody in the family, little kids included. So when I found that out, since I found that out, I've been in constant turmoil because, like I said, we were already considering not vaccinating, and it was starting to feel, Justin and I, pretty strongly about not vaccinating, but very strong about fostering. And so it really felt like two things that the Lord was bringing us to. One, leading us to do foster care. We truly felt like that was from the Lord. And then we also felt like the Lord was bringing us into this information about vaccinations, not in like a conspiracy theory type of way necessarily, but just, you know, the ingredients in them and all that, different reactions and side effects, bringing us to this knowledge that was making us uncomfortable. And so we were like, Lord, this doesn't make sense. These two things don't seemingly go together. Our children have to be vaccinated if we want to do foster care, but we feel like you're calling us to foster care, and we feel like we don't have peace about vaccinating our children anymore. So it has caused a lot of inner turmoil for me and Justin the last month or so, to be honest, and it's kind of just ramped up from there and gotten worse and worse to the point where it's something that I'm battling with daily. Anyways, so a couple weeks ago, we found out, I was talking to the lady that's helping us our licensing process, and I was asking her, the wording in the forms that we signed for the immunizations was a little unclear, and I could tell that the flu shot and the Tdap were required, but to me it sounded like the rest of the immunizations weren't legally required. And so I inquired about that to her, and I said, I want to just make sure that I know what my rights are as a parent, as we all do. And at this point, she said, well, before I said I want to know what my rights are, I just asked her to clarify what that meant. And she said that we do have to turn in their immunizations. They do need to be immunized and up to date. And then I replied and said, well, I'd really like to know what my legal rights are because it doesn't sound like that's the wording of the law. And she replied and sent exemption forms. So that, for one, was like our first answer to prayer, because when she initially said we had to immunize our children, everything, all the shots, that was really disappointing and really upsetting, and I was so confused. Lord, what does this mean? Why is this happening? Why have you brought us to foster care only for this issue, for us to be faced with this issue? And so when she sent us the exemption forms, I was so relieved and so grateful to the Lord, Justin and I both. It was just an immediate answer to prayer, that we could keep moving forward. So we then knew that we could fill out these exemption forms, but moving forward, knowing we still had to do the Tdap and the flu shot. You cannot be exempt from those if you want to foster children under the age of 2. So that's still something, that's still an issue and still a really big bummer, because that was the age group that we were primarily wanting to do, was the little ones, just for our family and what we're able to handle and our kids' ages and their safety and all that. So anyways, but yeah, that did feel like an answer to prayer, and we're really grateful about that. She did say that the state has to be the ones to approve that at the end of this process. They could deny it. It's completely up to them. We personally are fully believing that it will be approved, because we truly feel like the Lord has led us to this, has laid it on our hearts to be foster parents, and the system needs more good foster homes. So it would just really be silly, in my opinion, for them to deny us for that reason, and it wouldn't fit with where the Lord has brought us. So we have full confidence that that will happen. If it doesn't, if the state denies it, then we will continue to trust the Lord, and apparently that's not what He has for us, or we're going to have to figure out a way around it. I'm not exactly sure, but for now we're operating under the assumption that it will be approved, and praying and believing for that. And then, so next, I was really nervous to tell our doctor that we were not vaccinating our kids. I have not told him that yet, because I had vaccinated Grayson and Hudson, and then with Weston, we were waiting, and he was super supportive of that. He kind of was more the one pushing us waiting until he was older. He doesn't like pumping those ingredients, toxins into little ones, and we haven't been having any of the things that they're immunized for at that age. We haven't had those outbreaks in our community, so he was comfortable waiting and felt better about that, and I really respect him for that, and I'm grateful. But I hadn't told him that I wasn't actually vaccinating. And then I was coming to this appointment that I took my son today, with 3 exemption forms that I needed him to sign to do foster care, and I wasn't sure how he would feel about that. I know he is pro-vaccines. So I went in and I was really nervous, and I was scared to tell him, and initially I told the nurse, which I assumed would happen. She asked if we were vaccinating today or if we were holding off, and I said, actually, I think we're leaning towards not vaccinating at all. And she goes, oh, okay. And I said, and I'm going to need our doctor to sign these exemption forms so that we can do foster care. And she's like, oh yeah, no problem. He can sign whatever forms you need. And that was that. And then when she left the room to go get the doctor, she said, yeah, no problem. I'll go get him, and he can sign whatever forms you need today. No big deal. And so that alone was like a huge relief, knowing that she was so kind about it, because you never know what you're going to be faced with when you tell somebody that, especially the medical field. People in the medical field. Okay, and then next, the doctor came in, and I was nervous to talk to him about it, and I was assuming he was going to ask me questions as to why I wasn't, and that it might be a discussion, and so I was trying to prepare myself with my reasoning and all that. And all this to say, he's very kind and understanding, and I've never felt pressure for him for anything, but I was still nervous having this discussion for the first time. Anyways, so we didn't talk about it until the very end. Everything went really good, and then he said, so are we vaccinating today, or are we still waiting? He kind of left it open-ended, and I said, actually, we've decided we're not going to vaccinate. And he goes, okay. And then I said, and I have some forms I need you to fill out, so we can continue to do foster care, or continue with the process to become licensed foster parents. And he was like, oh, you guys are going to do foster care, that's awesome. Asked a little about that, and then he took the papers, and he said, okay, I'm going to step out and fill them out for you, look them over. I'll be less distracted, because there was 3 kids in the room with us. And so he stepped out and he did that, and the nurse brought them back in with his signature and explained to me what she filled out and what she exempted them from, and super kind. And that was that. I said, thank you so much. I was so relieved. I'd been so worried about it, and this felt like the next answer to prayer over this whole issue that has had me in such turmoil constantly. Just felt like more confirmation that these 2 things can go together, that foster care and not vaccinating my children do work together, and that they both are convictions from the Lord. I'm hoping, praying. it gave me so much peace and so much gratitude to God that he sees these little things, these little maybe somewhat trivial concerns that we have about, not that vaccinating or not vaccinating is trivial, but the concern that I had in having this conversation. He saw that, and the conversation ended up being no big deal, and they were very nice, and I didn't feel any hint of any negativity from either of them. And so, yeah, it just felt like more answer to prayer and more reason to keep moving forward. That's what both my parents have been encouraging us to do, is just take it one step at a time, one conversation at a time, one more set of forms at a time. All we can do is keep moving forward and expect the Lord to show up and, you know, bless our efforts, I suppose. If this is truly from him, then, you know, we are counting on him to come through in all the ways that we need him to, and so far he is. In regards to the flu shot and the Tdap, we absolutely will not be doing either of those for anybody in our family. If it was just Justin and I and we didn't have kids, I'm pretty sure would do it in a heartbeat, because our bodies can handle that. It's making the decisions for ourselves. We would feel comfortable with that, and that would be more, it would be more important to take care of these little ones than for us adults to avoid these shots. Even though we would love the shots, it would still feel worth it. But with our kids and their safety, that comes first, because they're who God has entrusted to us initially and who we're responsible for. So we feel very strongly about not giving them those things. They never have had them. They have had the Tdap, Grayson and Hudson, but we won't be doing that moving forward, or with Weston, and none of us have ever had the flu shot. Hi, buddy. What are you doing? Hi.
Hi.
You guys having fun outside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm standing in the water pool.
Oh, fun.
It didn't break.
I love you guys.
Love you.
Anyways, so my brain is fried and I can never get back on track when I've lost my train of thought. So we're not doing flu shot, we're not doing Tdap, which means we can't be exempt from those to do foster care, but that's only required for ages under 2. So that leaves us with not getting them and only fostering children older than 2 years old. Yes, sweetheart.
I want a popsicle.
You want a popsicle? Okay, when I'm done with this, I can get you a popsicle, okay?
We can get it.
I'm almost done. Or you can get it.
Yeah.
Sure. So, that's a bummer. Yeah, of course. That's a bummer because,
I want.
you know, who doesn't love the babies? It's kind of a selfish thing, really. Babies are so sweet, and I love that stage. I've always loved babies and found that stage to be fairly easy. And obviously it comes with less, like, emotional issues. Like, all kids, no matter what their age is from foster care, are going to be affected by the trauma in some way, even if it's just slight. But obviously the older you get, the more issues they're going to have. So doing under 2 would alleviate a lot of that, I think. But we strongly feel called to foster care, and we can't give our kids those shots. So that's what it leaves us with, is the 2-year-olds, maybe 3-year-olds. But for now, we may just stick to 2-year-olds, and that really limits what we're able to do, and we're really bummed about that.
Yes. Apple cherry.
Yes.
Okay. Here, Hudson.
We're really bummed about that,
Cherry.
but we feel like the Lord will bless us in that, and we'll just be praying for the perfect 2-year-old that fits our family, that is just the right situation for us, and we trust that the Lord will provide that, and he'll be faithful, and you know, he's trustworthy. If he leads us to something, okay, awesome, yeah, nice. If he leads us to something, we know we're honoring him in that, we can absolutely trust him. Even if it's scary, even if it's hard, even if it's uncomfortable, which all of foster care will be, we know we can trust him and that he will come through and he will provide the right circumstances and situations. And that doesn't mean he's going to make it easy or comfortable or ideal necessarily.
Cherry.
Apple grape.
Oh.
But
And one apple
we know-
cherry.
Okay.
I got apple.
Okay. Okay. Mommy's gonna finish this real quick, okay? But we know that he can trust. We can trust his timing, the right situation, that he's gonna give us the strength, that he's gonna lead us and guide us and walk with us through this. And that's all we can do, is continue to move forward one step at a time, trusting that God will show up in each different circumstance that arises. Trust that he's going to give us the ability to do this. He's going to, really, we're going to be relying on his strength to do this whole foster thing, regardless of this vaccine issue. But because that's applicable to our family, it's been an extra way for our faith to grow in the Lord. Another way of saying, Lord, we don't know what this looks like and we don't know how it's going to happen. And at the beginning, it seemed really hopeless and we thought we were going to have to pull out of this whole thing. And it was really frustrating. And we're like, Lord, you have to help us figure this out or it's not going to happen. And we want this to happen. We feel like you are calling us to do this. So you have to make it happen. And he's done that so far. So we are so grateful for that. We're grateful that we get to continue moving forward. Like I said, if at the end of this we don't get approved, that's going to be super disappointing and super confusing, but we will trust God in that as well and figure out what he is calling us to. And yeah, we can trust him in that no matter what. So all that to say, if you're considering foster care and you don't vaccinate your children, I thought this video would be helpful because I haven't found any videos like it on YouTube, and I think it's helpful to hear somebody else's perspective and what they're actually going through as it's happening. And this is for Washington State, so I'm sure it's different other places. I know Washington State is one of the only ones that has these vaccine requirements for foster care. But if you don't vaccinate your kids and you feel called to fostering, there is a way to do it. It's a little more steps and a little more difficult, but you absolutely can do it. And I would encourage you to seek out that information and talk to somebody about it and figure out how to make it happen. So anyways, that's what's new with us. We're just moving along and trusting the Lord to bring us to where he's called us and to make it all happen. And ultimately hoping to honor and glorify him and serve the kingdom. So anyways, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.